It's time for On Point with Julian Phillips.
Last week, I was raking leaves, as I always do every fall here in the Northeast. And, when you're outside, of course, people pass by. And there's this one neighbor who I always see walking his dog. We're pretty friendly. And we talk about a lot of things. He has his own or had his own physical therapy business, a thriving one in Manhattan in New York City. And I would often ask him questions about, aches and pains and exercises and stretches and stuff like that. But we got into a conversation the last time I saw him, and we're talking about a number of things. And he says, and by the way, I have a question for you. I said, oh boy. I says, well, hopefully I have an answer. He said, it's about this vaccine situation. Now, we've talked about this off and on over the last several months. He's an anti-vaxxer, or let's just say he is not taking the vaccine, and he has his reasons, none of which I understand, but those are his reasons. Well, he started talking about this vaccine again, and I says, I really don't want to go down this road with you with this. But he goes on, and then so he would ask me a question, and every time I would try to answer the question, when I got 2 or 3 words into the first sentence, he would cut me off. Now, I noticed this about people who ask a question of you, and they cut you off before you could actually finish the sentence. And what it really is, they really don't want to hear your answer. They just want you to hear what they have to say. So this went on for about 10 minutes. And I was trying, and then as soon as you hear this on certain networks, where they'll ask a question and then they won't let you finish your answer that they say that they want to hear, and they beat up on you. So this was like a pointless discussion. So then he goes into this whole thing of hope and faith, because we've talked about this before. He knows I'm a lay minister, so he has apparently no hope and faith. And I left it. I said, look, let's cut it. Obviously, there's nothing that I'm attempting to say that you're asking an answer for that you really want to hear. So why are we going through this? And when it comes to the vaccine, you are a physical therapist. You say you have advanced degrees in medicine. So I think it's kind of pointless for me to try to convince you or say anything to you about medicine when you probably have more experience in this than I do. And I says, I deal with if you cut out everything else, if you cut out what you're hearing on TV or what you're reading, because he kept on saying, "With they are saying this." I'm saying, well, who is they? I said, I just go with empirical evidence, meaning I look at my own worldview and see how things affect me. And in my own worldview, mostly everybody I know that has died of COVID were unvaccinated. Everybody else who may have gotten it, even with a breakthrough case, didn't die because they were vaccinated. I can only really, when it boils down to the brass tacks, I've got to look at how things have affected me in my world. And then he says, well, because he's white, he says, oh, well, all those people that died, were they black? Now level with me. And I'm saying, well, that's kind of insulting. And I'm saying, no. Do you think everybody that I know that's in this world is black? I know you, and you're not black. And so we left the conversation at that point. And I thought about it, after he left, and I had to kind of laugh to myself, because this whole conversation about vaccines came up because I had a dinner for a very prominent candidate that was running for office where I live. And I invited some of the best and brightest, in the county over, so she could hear their points of view. I wanted to invite him, but he told me at this time, this was a couple of months ago, he wasn't vaccinated, and that's where this whole conversation started. So he's still been needling me about this whole vaccination thing, which means to me that he's not settled with it. Because at the end of the day, I'd never bring this up to him. If you keep on bringing this conversation up and your beliefs about not being vaccinated or why you are not being vaccinated, who are you trying to convince? Me or you? Think about that. So anyway, I was just thinking, just this whole situation of vaccinations and what's going on in the world here in the United States outside of vaccinations, voter suppression, and you got this Kyle Rittenhouse thing that's going on, then the Arbery trial down there in Georgia, and critical race theory, crime, you name it. And I thought about what he said about faith and hope. And I said to myself, geez, and I don't try to put my faith on anybody. I don't. I make it acceptable. Available, I should say, not acceptable. Whatever you believe, that's fine. I'm not trying to throw anything on anybody. If you don't believe in God, well, that's between you and God, or you and no God. But I'm not forcing myself going down the street with signs and holding Bibles up and listen. No, no, this is what I believe in. And I believe how I conduct myself as a human being might prompt some people to ask, oh, well, how do you do this? How do you do that? And not that I don't have fears and worries and concerns of my own, but I do deal with faith and hope. What is faith? It's actually a couple of things, and some people might say it's a paradox. Faith, on the one hand, is a reason to trust. Trusting in someone or something because of positive things that have happened in the past that you have gotten to through maybe a negative circumstance. You have faith because you can endure a particular storm because you've been through one before and you've survived it, or a challenge or a circumstance. But faith also defies logic. Sometimes you're believing in things that you have no evidence of that they will come to pass. You just don't know, but you're hoping and believing beyond any evidence that you have that something good, something positive will happen. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Over my years living, I have seen things as a result of my faith. I've witnessed really good things. I've endured things. But faith doesn't always give you what you want. And I say that, the outcome of faith is in the hands of the master, of the one who supplies the faith. For me, it's the one who I believe in, the God that I cannot see. And with that faith, it may not be exactly what I ask for, but it usually turns out for my good. Faith and hope. I'm not saying you should have it, but in a world of uncertainty that we live in right now, my God, I don't know how I would feel without some faith and hope, despite everything that we see. Now, maybe I'm wrong. I believe in climate change. I believe that we should have certain reforms in this country. Voter suppression, voter rights. We need reform there. We need historical reform. We need to understand that this country was not just built by one group of people or for one group of people. The racist might think so, but the racist might not understand and know that during the revolution, 8,000 blacks fought for the revolution. 8,000. The racist may not know that if he had a life-saving operation where he needed a transfusion or he needed a heart transplant, or something was wrong with his heart, that the first open heart surgery was performed here by Dr. Charles Drew. It wasn't William DeBakey. Or that if he needed that transfusion, Dr. Charles Drew, no, Daniel Hale Williams, forgive me on that, Daniel Hale Williams performed, a black surgeon performed the first open heart surgery. And Dr. Charles Drew, a black surgeon, was responsible for blood plasma, saved hundreds of thousands and, of course, millions of lives after the course of his working on that. People of color have been involved in every aspect of building this country from its inception. But if you talk to a lot of people who don't know that, even black people, you would think that that's not the case, that it's all about entertainment and this and that and everything else. So I have faith and hope that, one day there will be a level playing field with information where people know the contributions of everybody who made this nation what it is. That's where my faith and hope lie. But supposing I'm wrong. Supposing I'm wrong to believe that a 17-year-old kid should not be running down the street self-deputizing himself in Kenosha, Wisconsin, to so-called say he's saving people or helping people, and two people die and one's arm is blown off. Maybe I'm wrong that we shouldn't have voter rights in this country. Maybe I'm wrong about, say, a senator in West Virginia who's been there for 40 years, and the state is almost dead last in every category: healthcare, education, pollution, whatever. Been there for 40 years, but people still keep on voting him in. And he's against everything that, say, an infrastructure bill or a Build Better America Act would bring them. Maybe I'm wrong about a lawmaker in Alabama who says, "Oh, now we're going to get good roads and bridges in our state," but he was one of the very congressmen that voted against the infrastructure bill. He voted against it, but of course he's touting the fact that now the state is going to get much needed funds. Maybe I'm just wrong about a lot of things. Maybe I am. I don't know. But I have faith and hope that perhaps I am right. I have faith and hope that the good in all people, no matter what colors, will prevail. I have faith and hope that the generations that come after me will have a safe place to live, not having to deal with tornadoes happening in November or flooding in various parts of the country, in the Northeast. Maybe these things will subside. I have faith that people will finally wake up and do the right thing. That's what my faith is. Historically, I look at one person, Dwight Eisenhower, and he had to decide as a Supreme Allied commander in World War II whether to launch D-Day on June 6, 1944. The weather conditions were not great, but he realized if he didn't do anything at that point, D-Day may never have come about after all the preparation. But he also knew that he had tens of thousands of lives hanging in the balance. Now, I don't know what his faith was. I assume he pondered over this, agonized over this for a long time. But there must have been something in him that prompted him, that pulled him to say, look, we got to go on this date. I don't know what that was for him, but tyranny was at stake. Tyranny over freedom. And he made the choice. For me, I would have made that choice on faith. Faith that despite the odds, despite the challenges and obstacles, that if I act on faith, based on hope, but the evidence not seen, that I will prevail. Well, freedom won out over tyranny on July 6, 1944. And if you go through history, countless times you'll see that people of faith who made a decision based on faith and a belief, that they prevailed. Faith is not always easy. A lot of times it comes at a cost. The choice to fight tyranny, Hitler, one man who created, in a sense, lit the match for World War II. He was defeated. But at the end of the day, at the end of World War II, 60 million people, men, women, and children, lost their lives. Faith is a reason to trust, but it's not always easy. It always comes, a lot of times, at cost. As I close, I think about my friend who does not want to be vaccinated for whatever reason. I don't know what's going through his mind. Maybe he is still trying to convince himself, certainly not me. Maybe he's afraid. Maybe he doesn't know what to do. We all are living in uncertain times, and all of us have beliefs. Some who are sincere, but others who are sincerely wrong. Where do we go? How do we navigate? How do we keep our sanity in a world where insanity seems to rule at every corner? For me, it's faith, it's hope, and trust. And hoping and trusting and having faith that this world, for all of us, this country, this democracy that we so strongly believe in, will prevail. That's my word for today. I'll see you next time.